Alright, sup everybody, welcome back to the Path of Rage and our weekly Star Citizen news coverage. I am going to be trying a different format for this video, as you can see. I'm going to be covering inside Star Citizen Live, and first and foremost, the current latest news on the 323.2 patch involving cargo. But I want to try something new with the format here. I'm always learning with this channel and trying different things to see what works for me, what works for you guys. I'm going to mix a bit of talking to the camera in with footage and somewhat of a reaction almost to what actually is in the Star Citizen videos that CIG themselves put out. Again, not a full reaction, but pointing out the parts of the video that stuck out to me. Descriptions for both of them will be in the description below, or links for both of them will be in the description below. And we'll just see how this kind of does. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this format. In the meantime, I'm Rage Games, and let's get into it. The first update that we have here is from the Evocati build as well, talking about the 323.2 patch they're working on for bringing in the cargo hangars, the cargo updates, the cargo missions. Those are all still marked as tentative on the roadmap right now. And they're pointing it out here. There's huge widespread effects to how this is going to change the game. And they're looking at getting Evocati builds starting to roll out by Wednesday here. This is as up to date as the information gets right now. You can be certain that when this game goes to 323 and drops those Evocati patches for the cargo hangars, I will absolutely be there testing it out, and provided it's not under the full NDA that we can't talk about it, I will absolutely let you guys know on this channel what's going on. I can't wait to see this and test it out and put it through its paces, because yeah, this is going to be an absolute game changer, quite literally in so many ways. Inside Star Citizen was basically a ship highlight episode, both of ships that are not yet in game, one that's about to be, one that's nowhere near it. First is the Drake Ironclad, which is a cargo ship from Drake. It's still a concept ship with some minor gray box work done so far, and the second half of it was all about the RSI Polaris, which is about to be in the game at IAE this year. We'll take a look at a little bit of what they have to say about that, give you my thoughts on that, and then we'll move on to Star Citizen Live.
So the Drake Ironclad is the kind of next step up for Drake cargo ships. It kind of builds on what the Caterpillar brings, but in a much larger form.
The Drake Ironclad is a 6-person multi-crew armoured freighter. A large proportion of the ship is dedicated to the cargo bay at the front of it, which has both a front ramp for loading and unloading cargo and small vehicles on the ground, as well as a retractable roof for doing that in space with EVA as well.
Little tight entrances to cargo ships doesn't necessarily lend itself to when you're out in deep space and you're trying to quickly move some cargo from one person's ship into your ship. Really, you want as much kind of access to be able to do that as you possibly can. So by having this kind of much larger opening on top of the ship, it allows us to kind of bring cargo in much easier.
Okay, yeah. I like the look of that. I like the Drake aesthetic. I can see the need for a ship this size progression-wise, because right now we do have a lot of small cargo ships. We also already have plans for very large cargo ships like the Hull D&E series and eventually the Kraken. Yeah, this will fit a niche. Definitely something for the cargo-minded players out there to work towards, especially in a crew. So, yeah, sure, fair enough.
With some of the recent tech that's come online, this brought us one step closer to implementing command modules properly. So not only will you see this detachable command module feature on the Ironclad, but as well it will happen on the Caterpillar.
Interior-wise, you've kind of got two entrances onto the ship. You can either enter via the command module, and that takes you straight into a kind of corridor section. It's kind of like almost like a mezzanine. You can either go up to the habitation area, which is top floor of the ship, gives you like super nice views out both the kind of cargo out the front and the rear of the ship, or you can kind of come down the ship into the main habitation area. Alternatively, you can enter through the dock and collar airlock, which is on the opposite side of the ship. At the rear of the interior of the ship, we've kind of got the heart of the engines. It's the big kind of engineering area where we've got all of the kind of main functional components needed for moving such a large ship. And then if you kind of come slightly further forward, got we call it the kind of like the command deck. It's not a bridge, you can't fly the ship from it, but it's where you operate the tractor beams. It's where it kind of gives you good views out over the front and into space.
So I like the concept here. I think it looks cool. I like that command control station overlooking the deck idea. They've got it laid out, but again, keep in mind, folks, this is a concept ship. And it's a large one at that. And we know how long now CIG takes to make the large ships. They've said they can take a year or more. So this ship is at least a year or two away from ever seeing light of day in the persistent universe. It's great. It's a cool concept. When it comes to the game, I'll be happy to grind for it if I'm doing a cargo thing. Somebody might want to purchase it in game, whatever. That's entirely up to them. But we won't be seeing this anytime soon. So, if you want to check that out, again, I'm going to link the shows we talk about today in the description below. This is Inside Star Citizen, and we're going to move on now to the Polaris.
We really wanted to have some form of the exterior of the Polaris at Invictus launch week.
This ship looks good.
We wanted to mix up the capital ships on display this year.
Being a big kind of military show, it made perfect sense to be able to kind of show it off in its best light. We've pushed quite hard to get the exterior to a point where we're happy to show it publicly.
This meant we've prioritized doing the exterior over the interior. So the exterior you see is pretty much final art. All it is missing is really the damage setup, as I'm sure people have tried to do. It is currently invulnerable, or hopefully invulnerable in game.
Visually, I think not only have we been trying to get it out so we can show it, but we've also tried to kind of really push the quality of the exteriors of some of our kind of like large capital ships. And what that has meant is that we needed to focus a few more artists than what we'd normally put on the exterior of a ship, just to make sure we kind of hit that quality bar and we hit it on time. It's pretty close to being Lot Zero, which means that the majority of the main modeling's done. There's still a whole bunch of decal work, the finer details, what we call as POM details, pass needs to be done, and that really kind of helps to elevate the kind of like the close read. I think the distance read and the mid reads are like brilliant, and to be fair, the close read when you get up and personal is looking really, really good. It's just we've still got that kind of like final sprinkle of polish to go on.
So yeah, the Polaris is looking good. They are planning on having this out at IAE this year. John Crew has said that it is coming out this year, and it will be fully flyable and player driven and all the goodies enabled. So hopefully we'll start seeing them fly around the persistent universe. I wouldn't count on it. I don't think too many people actually have this ship. But here, let's jump ahead a little bit, and we're going to take a look at the interior that they have going on so far, because it's a little bit further behind, but it kind of give you a good idea of where it's going from there.
Engineering section is another kind of area that I think is really important in our capital ships and kind of getting to a level that we're happy with. From the kind of concept into production, we have opened up the bridge of the ship a little bit. One of the things we wanted to do is when you kind of enter onto the bridge, this should feel kind of like super exciting and super rewarding to the player. If they've managed to kind of get one of these ships, we want it to feel like they are kind of really living that kind of military life dream. So we've spent a bit of time kind of opening it up, giving some nicer views as you kind of enter onto the bridge itself.
I like that bridge a
What
lot.
we really wanted to do was kind of make sure that the player views are good, the captain gets a great kind of view out the front, and make sure that navigating around that area, especially as kind of more and more kind of multi-crew gameplay systems come online, we want to make sure that there's enough space on that bridge to have not just the captain and the pilot, but a whole crew there.
Compared to the concept mesh, one not big change but unresolved area was the hangar opening. It's quite a complex shape to open, so we spent a lot of time working on that. That's all resolved. And then another thing we are looking at in the future is actually doing some more upgunning of the turrets. So it is not just a torpedo boat. It can sort of hold its own against other capital ships with its turret.
They go into more detail on both of these ships in the rest of the Inside Star Citizen episode. Link in the description down below. Check it out and go and watch it for yourself. Again, it's a ship promotional. I am not ever going to buy either of these ships with real money, but I will possibly grind for them in game. But this is the type of ship that's going to go more for large group play than solo players, which I'm primarily one of. So, moving on to Star Citizen Live. They actually covered quite a few topics, mainly focused all on vehicle gameplay, because it is Invictus Week still until the day after this video goes up live. One of the things that they were asked about was the new engineering that they just brought in, which is so far only in a couple of experimental modes in Arena Commander. When the dev was asked exactly about engineering and what was coming, this is what he had to say.
With engineering in 4.0, how are you feeling about your work?
Pretty excited, to be honest. So, with all the work that we now are starting to put in, and next week we will reach a big milestone where we will just force everyone to use Resource Network in our game dev branch. So will be quite exciting times going forward.
So they're going to be adding it now to the base game dev, which for us should mean that we'll start seeing it a bit more probably in Evocati builds and being brought into the persistent universe. And that is also going to be one of those huge game-changing additions to Star Citizen, because that completely will change how large capital ships work. How that'll change any multi-crew ship at all, because you're going to have someone to fix the fuses and do repairs while you fly and use the ship. That's a big change. The fact that they're putting into game dev already, I like the sounds of that. Moving on. Another thing I wanted to highlight was they had a question about mining missions, which is something I've thought was oddly missing in Star Citizen this whole time. I mean, the Prospector and mining were one of the first non-combat missions we really had, other than box missions. Like, I've been surprised this whole time that we just don't seem to have them yet. That's going to change fairly soon, because this is what they had to say.
What about mining missions?
Mining missions, yes. I mean, yeah, we want them, and we're going to have our first versions of them coming in hopefully soon in the form of resource gathering. But these are going to be the first iteration, which we kind of call like open resource gathering. And this is the idea that like a mining outpost will go, I want, 1,000 SCU of iron, and then that's all they say. And then you have to go out and collect it, or I want 1,000 SCU of Quantanium. And you as a player can go mine it and transport it, or if you can purchase it from another player or a store, you do that, or you can pirate people for it and bring it in, because they don't care where you've got it from, they just need that resource. So that'll be kind of like the idea of the first versions, and then later down the line we might get more specific with our sort of resources that we want, where we're like, we want exactly this, these mining things from this area because we have bought the sort of land claim there for those rocks.
So there you go. They already have the beginning ideas of it and laid out and plan to bring it, but again, you notice, soon. no real choice on when that's going to happen, or if it's anytime soon or way down the line. I do think that mining missions need to be in there. Missions need to be touched up in general, but there we have an update on that. Now this next question I thought was really interesting, about making a clearer distinction in missions if they're going to be ship-based or FPS-based combat, and I like where they're going here with this one. Let's take a listen.
Would you please make a clear distinction between vehicle-based combat missions and FPS ones? Is that something we even want to do? Do we want to mix them up? They're asking for it.
No. Well. No, I'm joking. We're going to add, in the future when we redo the contract manager app, we're going to add a sort of section where you can see the sort of gameplay you're going to encounter. So it'd say things like, maybe you need a multi-tool, maybe you're going to come up against, maybe you're going to need like FPS weapons, maybe you're going to need a powerful ship. There'll be like a section where you can see what it is. And the reason that we don't currently make a distinction between the two is because the idea is that in the future, like, your bounty that you're hunting might be above like a bunker, but then he might land and go inside, and then you've got to infiltrate and fight them. There's a whole bunch of different things that we want to happen, so therefore we don't want to make a clear distinction when there might be why there might be none. You might get there, start attacking them, and then they get in their ship and take off, and you've got to transition from ground to space-based combat. There's
too clear
potential for change.
We don't want to make too clear a distinction.
Yeah, exactly.
I like what you're saying. It's like we could give you expectations. The mission giver expects it to be primarily this or primarily that. But yeah. I think it's important to leave room for the element of surprise, not just from the story of your mission team and the narrative and stuff, but the surprise of the other backers, the other players in the version.
Exactly.
Now, I think if you stop and think about it for a minute, given the nature of Star Citizen and this open, persistent universe where all players and whatnot are within the same universe, if you think about that backdrop for this game, this is really the only path forward for them when it comes to missions. Yeah, sure, absolutely. A mission giver could give you a mission in the Yela asteroid belt, for example. It's probably going to be just vehicle combat in the asteroid belt. But what if it's near Grimhex and the AI is a known pirate and subsumption and quantum is all working as intended, and the AI flees combat to go to Grimhex and you have to follow them? And there are other players showing up. Yeah, like, we're going to have to be prepared in the persistent universe for vehicle combat and FPS combat, NPC combat, and player versus player combat pretty much at all times. So when you think about it, this really is the only path that they have for making missions. They could tell us what the expectations are, but if anyone who plays Star Citizen knows anything, it's that weird shit happens all the time, and no amount of programming is ever going to change that. Now here's another one that's a little bit near and dear to my heart about the UI clutter in the current 323 build.
Jared, I beg you, do you have any plans for the cluttered UI problem? These aren't the UI guys loading, but yes, I was witnessing a big chat with Simon and Bone and CR just yesterday in our big creative and technical directors chat and stuff. We're aware. It's been a forever thing. So I have no information to give you. That was just them talking about potential solutions yesterday, so I don't know where they're going with it.
There you go.
But yes.
Now they went over a bit more in Star Citizen Live. They touched on, again, more on missions. They asked about refueling missions, if power plants might burn fuel, how Master Modes is going overall. Talked about tanks. I actually talked about a lot of different things involving the vehicles. Again, I suggest that you guys give a watch to it. Link down in the description below. I don't believe that there are going to be any Inside Star Citizens for the next few weeks. I don't think any Star Citizen lives either. We'll go over roadmap updates and whatnot, but these will be maybe some shorter videos if there's a little bit less, depending on the week, to cover. As I said in the beginning intro, this is a new format attempt with my Star Citizen video. I'd love to hear from you guys in the description below what you thought of it. If you like this style of video, if you preferred my previous style better, I'd love to hear from you. Let you know. I just passed the 250 subscriber mark. So, as you all know, I'm constantly trying something new and learning as I go with this channel. So, if you enjoyed this one, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. Please let me know your thoughts in the description or the comments below. Subscribe to help me grow if you're new to the channel and you do like what you see. And until next time, I've been Rage at Games, and I'll see you in the verse.